Hi, and welcome back to another edition of my Photopea online tutorial. Today I am going to just show you and refresh your memory on a few things. Similar to Photoshop, we have our Move tool. And this Move tool is located in the same place on the toolbar. And you will also notice that in the Options panel, where I'm waving my mouse over right now, you're going to see Auto Select and Show Transform Controls. Make sure those are check marked as they are here in blue. Those are going to allow you to use the transform feature of your selection tool. Okay, so now that we've established that, just make sure that those are selected, and that will allow you to see the corners and the edges of your image or selection when it's made. So now what I'm going to show you is some of the selection tools. And I know that there is this one called Object Selection. This one is pretty different because it's not something that we have in Photoshop, and it works like this. So you click on it and then you have to drag a box over the image. It's not actually doing anything currently. Oh, because I have to be on the layer. So when you're in your layers panel over here, this has to be highlighted and you need to be able to see this dashed line around the image. Now it'll work. Okay, so I'm going to select, and you notice how there's that crosshatch in the middle of it. Can you see that T or that plus sign? Now it's in the middle of my object, so I'm gonna let go. It made an okay selection. It wasn't that great. So I'm going to try again. Maybe that one will make a better selection. I just keep trying until I can get a good selection made. The bigger I went, the better it was. So I was able to actually do it. Oh, no, let me go back. Command Z or Control Z. Okay, so now I have a couple of little spots that I see that are not really that great. So I'm going to zoom in, and you can see Command plus or Control plus on your keyboard zooms you in, but you can also use the zoom tool. There's zoom out, zoom in. Zoom tool is located right underneath the hand. And again, the hand is good for when you're zoomed in, you can move around your image as you see here. Okay, so that was that tool. I could go back and fix those selections later using the lasso, and I can use the polygonal lasso or just the regular lasso tool to kind of lasso it. So let's go ahead and zoom in. And right here, I'm actually going to remove from my selection. So that means that I have to subtract from the selection. So up here, there's these icons. This one is replace, this one is unite, this one is subtract. So we're going to subtract from the selection. So I'm actually just going to click back on my lasso select, make sure that's selected, click on subtract, and then I can just draw a little area around it, and now it's gone. I can go down here, do the same thing, and now it's gone. So say I accidentally did that, you can see how it's subtracted from my selection. Now I want to go back and I want to use the first one, which is the standard one, which is just replace. And then I can draw around it. Oops. I should be able to just use it regular and select. No. Okay. So these selection tools are, just really, really weird. So I'm not really sure. They're not the same as Photoshop. They kind of stink. So we're just gonna try our best. And of course, the quick selection tool is probably the worst one out of all of them. So you can see how much of a struggle this is. And I give you guys so much credit for doing your vacation pictures as well as you did. So for those of you who are struggling and that cannot do this, it is a challenge. So what I am going to do, and I'm sure that some of you have figured this out, which is why yours came out the way they did. If you just choose the lasso tool, let me deselect my whole image. If you just choose the lasso tool, you can actually go in and draw a very loose selection around your subject. So you just capture the essence of that subject, copy it, go into your new image, and paste it. Now, if you click on the Move tool, you can now see that you have your whole image, but it's really big. It doesn't quite fit. So I'm going to go to my corner, hold my Shift key down, and resize. Hold that Shift key down to keep the proportion, and then you can even rotate it to fit. So now I'm going to make it fit, and then I'm going to hit the check mark. And it's done. So I'm on that layer. I can now use the eraser tool. This is my fix. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to use the eraser tool. The eraser tool is way too big, so I'm going to resize it using my options panel. Resize, that's too small. Make it a little bigger, and then go ahead and use the eraser tool on that layer to remove from my selection. So if I made a over selection, I can very easily remove pieces. If I under select, which means I make the selection too small or I take off chunks of it, then it's missing and gone for good. So this is the alternate fix to how to create a selection tool. A selection image using the selection tools that you have access to that actually work. Some things just don't work. They just look like they just don't want to function properly. So that's a struggle that I know that a lot of you are having. So again, this is not the greatest. It's a little choppy. Okay, so you can adjust the hardness of your brush. So right now that was at 100%. So that's what you were getting when you looked at that. But if you make your brush 50% and go ahead and do it, then you get a better, smoother edge. It's not as hard of an edge. It's a little softer. So that helps. And then if you actually use a smaller size brush to get into smaller areas, you're going to find that it's easier to get the edge of what you actually want to get. And then you can switch back and forth between big brush and little brush in order to get your selection proper. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can kind of fix that situation. It doesn't always look nice, and it's not always the greatest, but it's a workaround for using the tools that you have at your disposal. Another option for you is going to be to watch my next tutorial. My next tutorial is going to be on using the photo editor called Pixlr X. It's a little different in terms of how it selects. It's much more simplistic, and you guys might like it better. So see you later. Hope this helps.